It's the single greatest honor of my life,
Oh,
sir.
my Lord, this has been great.
Thank you so much.
Fabulous question.
Hey guys, Jake Hamilton here. If you don't know me, I've been a film and entertainment reporter for more than 15 years. I get to travel the world and talk to some of the coolest people on the planet, some of the best actors, filmmakers, musicians of all time. And most of those interviews go right here to my YouTube channel. But there are some of my older, more classic interviews that I kind of wanted to dig out of the closet and dust off a little bit. Some with my favorite actors and filmmakers of all time. So before we begin, if you don't already, do me a favor, go down, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. You'll be the first to know when I travel the world and post some interviews with some of the biggest actors and filmmakers on the planet. They'll post right here to my YouTube channel, so hit that subscribe button. But today we're gonna flash back to some of my interviews with my all-time favorite actor, the nicest man on the planet to interview, Mr. Tom Hanks. Enjoy.
Jake Hamilton, Fox Houston. If I could get a two-shot the whole time, that'd be awesome.
Didn't we already talk to a guy who represents all the Fox?
We did.
Yeah, and then I guess you're in a battle royale with that guy.
We are.
I vote for you.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Much appreciated. I love whenever you go to Julia's class and she says the first thing that she wants to teach you is how to care. And for you, after 2 Oscars and countless memorable films and famous lines and classic characters, what makes you still care about all of this?
Oh, that's a good question, man. Look, my desire has always been only to try to get up there and tell the truth. When I was a young guy and I was just going to the theater, what I responded to the most, no matter what the play was when they were actually doing what Shakespeare said, which is hold the mirror up to nature. I said, what I recognize is that even though I'm not a Swedish architect like in The Master Builder, or I'm not a whatever the play was, when I saw the truth reflected back at me, that was really powerful stuff. And when it was just fake and didn't really have any logic to it, that's when I kind of checked out. So I care about trying to tell the truth. Absolutely. No matter what the gig is, no matter what the movie, whether you're running around Rome trying to find the Illuminati or trying to get through your speech 217 final, that I react to the authenticity.
So I was telling you guys this is my favorite book of all time, and it includes one of my favorite lines in literature, which is that all revolutions are lunacy until they happen, and then they are historical inevitabilities. Mm-hmm. So when you take on a revolutionary film like Cloud Atlas, and you're trying to make sense of the script, and you're going to the makeup tests, at what point does it go from this is lunacy to no, this is inevitable?
Oh, I never thought it was lunacy.
No.
I thought it was I thought it was bodacious. Mm-hmm. The way Tom Tickfer and Andy and Lana described it the very first time we ever had conversations with him was a very gentle, a bit of a challenge, but at the same time an extended. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's have this adventure together. And so I always viewed it as if we do what we're told and follow our own instincts, I think we'll be okay because we're in the hands of, I think, some pretty smart people.
I just met the Wachowskis outside for the first time, and it was an unbelievable experience. It was incredible. I tried to get them to come in here, but they wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't?
They wouldn't come inside.
Well, we're not talking.
Okay, something went down. Mr. Hanks, from Chicago, if you could sit in a theater with Mr. Bradley, watch the film with him, and then when the movie's over, lean over and ask him one thing. Maybe, did we get this part right? What would you like to ask him about?
Did we smoke enough?
What do you think he would say?
He said, no, kid, I had one lit all the time.
Obviously, as a director, whenever you're directing yourself, do you discover things about yourself as an actor that you don't like?
Oh, God, yeah, all the time. But, sometimes just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not perfect for what the moment is. Many times in making films, particularly in the early days when I would make it I thought it was my job to study the dailies and go over everything. I would see things that I absolutely hated, just hated. And they ended up being great in the film. And likewise, I thought I would see stuff that I thought was so magnificent. Oh, I was really good in this scene. And it ends up being nothing up there. So you don't know, the subjectivity of it ruins everything. You have to hand it over to somebody because you might have done something totally by accident, totally not on purpose, or specifically what you were trying to do that ends up making the difference between being good or bad.
What do you see that you would hate? What would be an example of that?
Well, sometimes the nature of my goofy voice or this idiot face of mine. But there might be sometimes a lost opportunity. I could probably walk you through any moments of any movie that I've ever done, and I don't make it a habit to study these things, and just say missed opportunity. See, I missed that. I should have done it this way. I could have had a thing like that. But that's the subjectivity of it. It's not the actual final arbiter of what works or not.
I've always subscribed to the belief that kind of that's presented in this film, that we are affected by the actions of those before us, and our actions affect those after us. As two actors who you had to capture so many different lives in your film, do those roles that you play ever affect your life on a personal basis?
I used to, when I first started, I used to bring these kinds of things home, and I realized that was just not good for my personal life. Had some problems. So I've learned now how to, have work be work. I mean, on this movie, the thoughts came home with me. I can't say the characters ever came home, but certainly the thoughts and the questions that this movie inspired and always stayed on my mind. They're still on my mind, actually. I think this will always stay with me in that way, in some kind of way.
Of course.
This was in the early career. Let's just say the physicality of making movies is a thing that affected me. I mean, you're off someplace and it's it's very high energy, and sometimes you're traveling around the world, and physically you end up being affected by it just because you've done things you never did before. But here we had to do things as actors that we had never done before, and it's really the philosophy behind the movie is the thing that I think affected me more than ever before. I think even sometimes it's very difficult looking at the movies. Sometimes you remember a little bit of the day. You remember what was going on at the time, but the end result is the struggle that we went through in order to get to that place, and that's the stuff that keeps coming back to me. The thoughts that finally were articulated by the movie that I had never been forced to articulate to myself before.
I have to tell you, my favorite film of all time, this is kind of random, is Road to Perdition.
Oh, great.
And one of the things that kind of stands out for me about that movie is that you have the last on-screen moment with Paul Newman before he passed away.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, what does that mean to you to be able to have that moment?
Well, we didn't anticipate that coming along. I was just thrilled to be working with Paul in any manner at all, and part of it was being swept up in the entire legend, and also the sight of those blue eyes of his. But the other thing was the scenes of the 3 or 4 hander. Paul is an actor. Paul was an actor. He even in the first day of shooting, with all sorts of people around, we're making a big movie. He even had to stop and say, "Boy, the first day feels really self-conscious, doesn't it?" And he announced that to everybody. And of course, we're all thinking that, but you don't think Paul Newman's going to be it. It's you never know when you're going to be making some brand of unique cinematic history. Sometimes the history can be you've made the worst movie ever. Sometimes it could be the first movie shot underwater or something like that. But your own thrill at working with somebody like Paul Newman can then just because of the timing of it have hold more sway than you would think it ever will.
I do love that his last line to you is "I'm glad it's you," because I felt like that's such a great last line.
That whole movie is a very, very that is a weighty undertaking. Everything that went on there, the relationship between myself and my son, and the thing with Paul and the character that I played it had a lot of backstory to it.
Absolutely.
No substitute for that.
The fact that you guys play all the multiple roles is nothing short of astonishing. So I wanted to kind of ask a fun question. If you guys hypothetically could have done that for one of your past films, and with the role that you played maybe 1 or 2 extra parts, which film and which roles would you have liked to have tried out?
Oh, I would have loved to have played all 3 guys in Apollo 13. Get Kevin Bacon and Bill Paxton out of there.
You could have done that.
Let me play all the astronauts.
You totally could have done that.
That's all I wanted to do. Let me play all and even the one that was left down on Earth.
Right.
Let me play that one as well.
Why didn't Ron let you do that?
I don't know. They didn't have the technology then.
Nowadays.
Now they do.
I want to be all the X-Men. Not just Storm. I mean, all of them.
You could
all
totally do
those powers.
So we'll get Brian on the phone. We'll get Ron Howard on the phone.
How many X-Men are there exactly? There are X number of X-Men?
X-Men.
92?
In the movie I played, there were like 8.
Right.
Were you the only chick in the X-Men? How come?
No.
Was there others?
Jean Grey.
There's Jean Grey.
Okay, all right.
Rose.
Yeah,
Why are they called the X-Men then?
Because it's sexist.
Ex-people, because they're exist. Because they're exist.
Guys, well, they're giving the wrap. I've always wanted to meet you, and I've told you before, you're my favorite actor of all time, and Road to Perdition is my favorite film.
Thank you very
it's
much.
such an honor to get to sit across from you.
What is an ocean but a multitude of drops, my friend?
Like Larry, you have an experience in community college, but then after community college, you kind of dropped everything you left to go to Ohio to pursue acting at the Great Lakes Theater.
That's right, yeah.
If there is a kid out there right now who is considering, like you, leaving everything behind, everyone he knows behind, to go be an actor, what would you tell that kid?
Well, act wherever you can. The fact I left college because I was offered this opportunity to go off and work professionally at the discipline that I was studying in college. To me, there was no difference between the two. But if you are in a circumstance where no one is paying you or offering you the chance to perform, make it yourself. There's no reason you can do it anytime. If you want to, you can make a theater in an empty gas station or the basement of a church. You can go off and find the plays, write them yourself, perform. There's this tendency to think that I'd like to be an actor. How do I get the chance to act? Well, you can. If no one's asking you, create it yourself, and never, ever, ever turn down the opportunity to go somewhere and perform.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't do that because they have a lot of reasons why they can't, but that's the difference.
Absolutely. Well, they're giving me that. It's the single greatest honor of my life,
Oh,
sir.
my Lord, this has been great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Fabulous question.
Obviously, Angels and Demons was based on a prequel to the Da Vinci Code. What kind of changes did you have to make to Robert Langdon to make sure?
They made that movie. Dan Brown wrote the book so long ago. There was no Google. There was no internet. There were no Blackberries and pages like that. So there was just a straight out updating that had to be required. He also chose as this kind of like narrative device to make it seem as though the world media was not interested in the choosing of a new pope. They only had like 4 little sad trailers waiting for the election of the pope. When in fact we know that the choosing of a new pope is about, everybody stops what they're doing and waits for the news. So by way of that, it's just kind of like the natural adaptation from a book into a movie. I think actually Akiva and David Kapp did a really great job.